welcome to the Monday edition of Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne, and disembodied hands, Quindy and John, and sometimes somewhere off in the ether, Justin. How are you all? Yes, Quindy, sorry, I misclicked earlier. Retracting hype was funny. Alrighty. So I'll announce this again later today, but Adepticon is this coming weekend and we are leaving Wednesday, so I will not be streaming Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. Just so y'all know. I'll be hanging out with other miniatures folks. Just adjusting my windows here. Hey, Grey Wolf, thank you. 14 months, nice, and 3-month streak. Good job, good job. Awesome. So we're working on Madam today. I'm going to do her hair. And then maybe do some feathers here because the ostrich plumes need help. And I want to see kind of how they're going to look. So I'm thinking the ostrich plumes need to be done after the hair. Happy with her face though. How are you all today with your weeks? I get a short week, so I'm happy. And then I'll be back actually next Monday. I'll be back, but then again I'm going to Canada, so then I will be off Thursday and Friday. Just a lot of little like a lot of travel for me at the end of this month. Lots of travel. I bet everybody's busy at work, and this is gonna be a quiet stream. This is the sense I'm getting right now. Let us start. You can start brown hair with a couple of different things. I want to go a little bit darker and richer with her. I do not want to go red because she already has red, obviously, on her. And we're going to bring up the dress a fair bit, so toward more of a crimson red. And so I don't want to go reddish with her hair at all because it's just going to clash. This is why we're not doing red hair in the first place. But brunette will work very well. I could do black because black is one of our colors. But that would be kind of boring. What I find with, just in general with color schemes, guys, and I've talked about this on Color Theory for a very, very long time. If you watch my Dark Sword DVD with Jennifer Haley that we did eons ago, you'll even see me reference it there in the term of helper colors. And essentially what I find is that warm dark browns don't clash with any color on the planet, and also adding them into your piece tends to make other colors harmonize better. I don't know why this is, but I find with a color scheme, when I'm looking at it, I can, somehow the warm dark brown just makes everything, go together a little bit better. It's like you're throwing in an organic, earth color, and it just makes the other colors, I don't know, more deeper, more resonant. It's just different. So I call these helper colors. Cream is one of them too, but my cream I think is going to end up going pretty high up, pretty up to white, and I'm probably going to darken the shadows a bit, and I may darken the shadows with colors, and that's going to make it not as neutral. So given that, 4 hours of sun, nice Critico. Yeah, and I'm on vacation the last half of this week, David Weir, so. Redheads I always build with orange and white added to the red hair color. But I also often use the red hair triad. It's kind of what it's for. Grey Wolf. And then I add linen white to that color. But it depends on how you're doing your red hair. So, I mean, you can go very orangey with it if it's in sunlight. And you can, but I still do, in that case, an orange and linen and white mix. I don't use, just a bright orange. Anyway, we're not doing red hair. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the kitty is a redhead, technically. The cat we're doing. But, I mean, the easiest way to do red hair is the Master Series Red Hair Triad. I made it for the purpose of making it easier for you guys. Maybe? I don't know. Yeah, I'd have to see that. That's probably close to a decent... That's auburn, essentially. If you started... Okay, so here you go, Grey Wolf. Here's a freebie. If you want more of a, really fiery red, don't start dark. Start with your mid-tone, which is more like rust brown, 9072. And then shade that with the color that you just described. But if you start with that dark color on red hair, what you tend to find is that it will dull down all the colors that you go over with. And that's true of anything. Remember, when you start dark, whether it be black primer or underpainting or whatever, it costs more. It's harder to get that color to brighten because you're starting with that dark undercoat. I'm not going to do peacock. I'm going to do ostrich, Nomad Zeke, because it works with the color scheme. Also, the feathers are more sculpted like ostrich plumes than they are peacock. They don't have like the medallion shape at the end of them. You could do the conversion if you wanted to with green stuff. It'd be pretty easy to like give that kind of, elongate the tendrils toward the end on a couple of these and give them the more round medallion shape without the texture. Yeah, I mean, that's just, like I said, always, always, always remember, if you start with a dark color, your entire scheme's going to be darker. Like everything going up from that is going to be darker, or you're going to have to fight harder to make it go light because it's not going to want to go light. If you want a fiery tone or a bright or vibrant tone, don't start with a dark undercoat. Hello, everybody who's piling in. So I'll say this several times throughout the stream, but I will not be on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of this week, and I will not be on Thursday, Friday of next week. I've got 2 weekends of travel, but one of them is Adepticon, so we're making ready. David and I spent a lot of yesterday painting. Oh yeah, it's just when you're doing feathers are a pain. And you'll learn as you like try to paint them that peacock plumes are like pretty distinctive. And so it's not easy to paint these like a peacock because of the feather texture being so strong. You could paint them like the colors of a peacock, like the green and blue, and, call them some other maybe they're giant parrot feathers. That's what they are. She's so heavy. Like, I need to put her on a heavier base. But I'm really happy with her face. She's really rosy and jolly, and I really like it. So, all right. So, prefer brunette hair. We don't want to start with ruddy leather then. We could start with a muddy brown. We could start with russet brown. We could start with blackened brown. I think I like blackened brown in this particular instance, but I really have to think about how I want it to go up. I did want to go pretty rich with it. And even though taking it up with orangier colors may be fraught with peril, I'm kind of leaning that way. Let me see here. What could I do? Actually, maybe we'll go... Let's try some new stuff. Let's try some fast palette colors. Let us, even though Rusted Anchor is kind of like a kind of like color because it is reddish. But if I mix it with something yellower, like Griffin Golden Brown, I bet I can make this work. This is actually kind of the progression I tend to use for a very warm, rich-colored brunette hair, is a very dark brown, followed by a kind of orangish brown, followed by a very yellowy brown. So, and in exactly that, like, mid-tone shadow highlight kind of way. Although with this hair, I will start, and this is again where that thing I just described with the red hair comes into play. If you want a really rich color, then start with your midtone. If you want a dark color with richer highlights, then you start with your dark. I don't know, Rusted Anchor may be just too red. Like I said, I don't want to go too red with her hair because it's going to clash with her dress. But I am going to Adepticon, Cardi. It is in Chicagoland. It's one of the biggest miniature gaming cons in the country. Maybe the biggest as far as just being miniatures focused. Like Gen Con is a bigger con, of course, but it's also got a lot of stuff that's not miniatures focused, whereas Adepticon is mini focused. ReaperCon is big, but not as big as Adepticon. Well, David and I will be there hanging out. Nomad Zeke. And I'll have stickers. I put it on my to-do list to bring my branding this time. I will have painting big dragon stickers. I may even have rainbow ones. So if you are there, if we are not wandering around the vendor hall, which we'll probably will spend a fair amount of time doing, we will likely be trying to camp at Camp Wapple. Or Fort Wapple. Whatever James is calling the painting area at this point. Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I am going to be gone Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and of course Saturday. I won't be doing my own private stream because of that. And then next week, I'm going to Canada for puppies to do a puppy evaluation on Kiri's great-great-grandkids. And so I will be gone Thursday and Friday next week as well. But that's about it for travel for a while, until summer, I think. I get the feeling that this year is going to go by fast. I'm kind of sad about that. Oh yeah, I've got new pictures and everything too, Quindy. Shall we do our puppy dose before we start the hair? Because once I get into the hair, I'm going to be in the total zone here. So hold on. Must get the puppy pictures because they're really cute now because they're 6 weeks old. Oh my gosh. Actually, the hold on. The puppy, I'm going to be writing a little thing about the puppy picking process for our website, but it's not up yet. I'll let you guys know when it is. All right. Puppy pictures coming online. All right, here we go. Are you ready for the cute? You should be ready for the cute. Very, very, very adorable. Really, really adorable. So these are Kiri's great-great-grandpuppies. Very, very adorable. This one's my fave. He's been my fave since he was like 2 weeks old. Let's see, that's not a great one. This guy's a tank. He's a chunk. He's a big chunk. This is the cutest, though. This one. This one is the cutest. So it's common for Shiloh puppies to have those light rings around their eyes. By the way, that's kind of a characteristic of the breed, even though these are actually part of our outcrossing program. So they're half Belgian Tervuren because we want the fresh genes to help with our genetic diversity. But yeah, and that's their mama, Mixel. She's very, very pretty dog. Not that you can see much of her there. So yeah, there they are, guys. Oh wait, there's my boy. Sorry, one last one of my favorite. That's Blaze. He's very, very handsome. And that color comes from the Tervuren because they're very reddish. So yeah, so those are those little devils. There are 4 of them. And I'm going to be doing the eval on those. So we will assess them for structure, sound conformation. You know, healthy structure is important to us. And then we'll also be assessing their temperament in a 10-stage temperament test. They are adorable. Yeah, we work on hip dysplasia with every litter, Corsair. It's a very complex genetic disease, so it's very hard, but every outcross we do, we've been doing extensive research on the hips behind it because we want to, emerge from this with better hips. But there are other genetic diseases that this breeding will probably help us with even more. When we choose a breed to cross to, we know what our top 3 or 4 diseases are because I track everything. And so we choose breeds on purpose that do not have a high incidence of that. And we also investigate the individual dog to see if it's anywhere in their pedigree. You can't ever find a dog that's not a carrier for genetic diseases. Every single dog on the planet carries for something, multiple somethings. But you can try to find one that doesn't have the stuff that you've got. So Shilohs are fairly healthy, even with as small of our gene pool as we have. So we're trying to take a good thing and make it better, which is much better than taking a terrible thing and making it better. They aren't fat. They're just fluffy. You're right. Yeah. Yeah, everybody needs a Monday puppy dose. A little hat for every single one of them. They'd have to have animal hats, Kerniko, because their breeder, Christina, is like each one has a spirit animal. So the little reddish girl has like fox as her spirit animal, and the boy I like has lion, and then the other girl has panther, and the big boy has bear. So you'd have to have little animal hats for every one of them. Oh yeah. Cool, Art Kimbo, thanks. Yeah, thanks for coming back. Yeah, we try really hard. I wouldn't be involved with this breed, Corsair. My personal story with dogs is that I loved purebred dogs when I was a kid, and we had a Sheltie and a German short-haired pointer, which is the breed my dad loves. And both of them actually suffered from genetic disorders. And so I was like going to dog shows and doing obedience and junior showmanship when I was a kid with our 4-H dog project. So we had a dog trainer in town who ran the project. And at the same time, our purebreds had, the pointer sadly had epilepsy, and our Sheltie had thyroid problems, which are actually quite common in that breed, I found out later. So I still love like dogs, but I was like, isn't there a better way to raise healthy ones, right? So yeah, I wouldn't have gotten involved with the Shilohs if they hadn't had this program, and if it hadn't been very science-based, right? There we go. So we're starting very dark, as you can see. And if we decide this is too dark, we're going to use some white underpainting to bring up our highlight colors. But I think we'll be okay. The animal spirit animals were chosen by the breeder, Twisted Oma, because she knows their personalities. It's their appearance, based on their appearance and their personality. Kindle is apparently a foxy little girl, and super, super mischief type of girl, like Christina. I can tell she's Christina's favorite. Yeah, dogs are work. I mean, they are, but the bond that you can grow with them is really special. So I went from dog person to cat person, back to dog person. I was very much into dogs when I was a kid, but then after I went to college, of course, you can't, there's no way to keep a dog in a dorm. And when I got out of college, we were in an apartment that didn't allow them, so I ended up getting my cat, Ishtar, who was my first pet outside of, my parents and growing up. And she was an Abyssinian. I still love that breed. And then after that, I had a Persian and a Siamese, and then my last cat was Panther, and he was Mama San's son, so he was half Siamese. But then after that, I, in the midst of all that, I should say, I had, my first marriage, and we had a house, so we actually got into, we got our dogs. That's when we got into Shilohs. It's a very special breed because, at least within our organization, all of us work together, and we are very science-based. We are very DNA and genetics-based. It's really an unusual breed. But yeah, so then I got back into dogs and back into dog training and all that stuff. And Panther and Kiri were fast friends, by the way. I don't know if I ever told you that, but they used to play. It was the most hilarious thing to watch this big shepherd dog and this big black cat, chasing each other through the house. Yeah, it's her hair, Rex. No, it's her hair. She's got a do. A hairdo. We're doing brunette. I just held off because I wasn't sure what color I wanted the hair. Yeah, that'll do it to you, lady. I get it. And you know what? That's the argument. That's what makes me so mad, right? Because I do love dogs, and I can't stand people who raise their dogs badly. Who result in that sort of thing, right? It's just it's uncalled for. It makes all dog lovers furious when that stuff happens. I will advise you before you do get a dog to read some basic manuals on just how to raise a dog. It's a fascinating topic and will ensure that your own dog is well behaved. Even if you get a rescue, those books are very, very useful. There we go. There we are. But yeah, training and socialization are so important for dogs to know for them to know how to deal with anything in our world. Our world is really complicated. And like, dogs are smart, but they aren't magically gifted with the ability to understand the human world, so you gotta help them. All right, so there we go. We've got a very, very dark brown. Now, I could have started lighter, and I may regret starting so dark, but we'll see, we'll see. I like it frames her face, and as I bring up the colors, it should soften the color a bit. Yeah, for sure, Corsair. Yeah. Yeah, Kiri tried to herd Panther too. He would sit on like our table, like had a top, but then it had an underneath nook, and he would sit in the underneath nook, and Kiri would just circle the table, and he'd be like, "What are you doing, dog?" It was pretty funny. But they were like fast friends. Like, I still love how friends they were. They were so friends that when Kiri had her first litter of puppies, the very night that after they were born, I looked like everything was kept in really, really dim light. And so I didn't like notice it first, but I turned around because I was in the whelping box helping with the pups. And there was Panther sitting in the opening of the whelping box, just like watching Kiri and her puppies. And she had no problem. She was just like, "It's my friend. He came to see my babies." Alrighty, so let's get this rusted anchor down and see if I'm going to regret going here. I think I'm going to do a mix. I think because I'm worried about this being too red, I am going to mix in 1 drop of Griffin Golden Brown to see if I can push it a little more orange. Because remember, because we've got the red dress, we don't want the hair to go too red. It will clash. Absolutely will clash. So I'm going to do a 2-to-1, actually. Griffin Golden Brown to rusted anchor. If you don't have these colors, then, you know, you could try... normally I would use like Harvest Brown in this scenario instead of this brown. You could try a bit of a mixture. If you have the Kickstarter colors, you could mix Oxide Brown and Oxide Red and get something close to this. If you don't have Griffin Golden Brown, the old 9073 is the closest thing. There isn't really an equivalent, though. Let's see here. Oh no, did I like lose my water? Oh no. One moment. My water transported itself into the other room because I was painting last night. 1 second. Need my bottled water. Alrighty. Yes, and I just refilled it and everything. So I was like, oh no. So I'm just going to do a 3-to-1, keep it pretty thick, do a mix, see what the color's at, and then I am going to, tune it. This is pretty good. Actually, I think 1 more drop. I like this color though. So maybe a 1-to-1 then. So this is a 2-to-2 actually. Yeah, I like this color. And it looks like it's got pretty good coverage. I can tell that it's opaque because it's just not, you know, it's staying pretty solid on the sides of the palette here. So we're going to try to put this over the top of that. We're going to see how it works. I may actually do kind of a thing where I put 1 drop. Normally I would just put a brushful in, but I think I want to tune my base color because it is pretty dark. I want to see what happens if I do this. I think that's going to lighten, yeah, it's going to lighten up this brown just a little bit, make it a little richer, more like chocolatey, more lighter chocolatey. Let's see what I can do. Might have to do some mixes. Cool, Corsair, I'm glad you like the liners. Green stuff is just like, it's got a learning curve, just like anything else with sculpting. The other thing I'm going to do right now, though, guys, is I am going to get my white down, because if I do need to do some underpainting, if this brown is too dark and I can't make it work, then I want to have this white out so that I can create a way to put down my highlights and have them work. That is always the problem. I'm going to do a 2-to-1 with the white. It's always the problem with working with a really dark base coat is, like I said, it's hard to make your highlights show up well unless you've got a really high coverage paint. And even then, it's not going to be as bright, nearly as light and bright and warm as it would be over white. But yeah, still no news about my own future puppy. You know, I don't expect anything till April, which I think is when Zammy is supposed to go into heat. So we shall see. I'm going to try to put this brown over her, the black and brown base and see how it works. And if it doesn't work great, actually it's not bad because we do want a bit of a blend here. So if I have to build up a little bit, see, but it's very, 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 very subtle, even with as high coverage as this kind of is. We do want the hair to stay dark, so I'm going to build it up. But on the other side, we're going to do a different thing. On the other side, we're going to actually grab our pure white. Still got a little bit of the brown on my brush. We're going to lay down a underpainting layer. And remember, I thinned this white a lot. She's got very she's got very kinky curly hair, so it's very doctored up and fancy. It's got a lot of texture to it. So it's not going to be just traditional smooth hair, which can be difficult. She's got a lot of little ringlets and wavelets here. So underpainting on the other side, just a little bit, to try to bring out the texture. And then I'm going to put this color over it. We're going to see how that works. You'll see how the underpainting works. And I think the underpainting is going to be much better. I can just put it right over the top of the white. Now that gives us a much lighter result. And what we probably want is something in the middle. But I could put another layer of this on. So neither technique is working like as well as I'd like, because this is taking it too light and that is still staying too dark. So what that says to me is maybe I need to do kind of a mix here. The problem is that the black and brown has so much black in it that it easily overwhelms the mixture. So I did a little bit, I did a big brush of this and just a tiny bit of that, and it really changed the color here. And that's just because this black, this high solids black, is so much more powerful than the pigments that are in both our rusted anchor and our Griffin golden brown. So then if I take that, yeah, Aussie Shepherds are nice dogs. So I'm going to glaze that over the top and see how I like that. That's going to take it down a little bit. I kind of like that. So, all right, what strategy then do I want to use? I think I am going to underpaint with the white. I think I am going to go over it, but I think I'm going to make sure to darken it back down afterwards, and then when I go up in highlights, I'll execute a little differently. And sometimes it takes a little bit of work to figure out what hair color you want. Like, I don't want this to go too red, but I also don't want it to go too yellow because I don't want it to go too light. So that means bringing it up and knocking it down again. And we've got a lot of little curly bits here. And I mean, it'd be pretty easy to just do a wash on this hair and then just highlight it. That'd be the easiest way to do it. This hair would work pretty well red, just looking at the amount of shadow and highlight in it. All right, let's get our first coat down. Sepia liner is very yellow. It's so very, 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 very yellow. I wouldn't use it here. Sepia liner is a great liner for yellowish colors, for yellow and yellowish colors. And if you want to warm up skin tone and you thin it down, it can be very, very effective. So again, taking that lighter brown over the top. Yeah, I'm liking this. This is good. This is a mixture of Rusted Anchor and Griffin Golden Brown, both fast palette colors. Normally, however, I would use probably Intense Brown 9138, followed by, if you have the old Chestnut Gold, it would be 9073. Would be the equivalent colors that are not fast palette colors. Or my usual recipe. For those who are on my Patreon, you can see my usual recipe for brunette hair. I did it on a Viking bust. It looks really good. It's the same color progression you can use on a small miniature. So you can see how that white underpainting brings out the details of the hair. Yeah, if you want a very yellowish bone, for sure, Crows. Yep, have fun, Corsair. So yeah, I think this will work for a brunette hair. And the nice thing is you can always glaze it if you want it more brown, if you want it a little more orange or reddish or golden. After you underpaint, you can always come in and fix that. So now I went a little bit hard on this side. Now I want to bring it back. Yeah, sepia liner is a color I created for James Wapple. He really wanted one. I was like, all right, James, I'll rock it for you. But yeah, the liners in general do make great washes, so I'm going to thin this down just a little bit. Thinning down my dark brown so that I can also line with it and do touch-ups. Oh, thank you for the Patreon link. Yes, that's right. I'm like Patreon. Like, oh yeah, I just brought up the Viking bust guy. I also did wool texture on him. I used him for a couple of demos. Ended up changing his colors. Haven't finished him. He's still on my list though, because I like Vikings and I like that model. So he has not gotten pitched or otherwise put in the closet of doom. He's just in the we might come back to this pile. And hey, I am almost done with my competition entry, which means I can start a new project. And I I have a couple of new projects that I was thinking about working on. I want to bring something to Adepticon. One of them is pretty fragile though. The Limbo model is pretty fragile, so probably won't take that one to Adepticon with me. I'll probably end up bringing the Samurai Girl bust instead. But if so, I should figure out what kimono pattern I want to do on her cloth before I go, so that I can have that in mind and have pictures of it. So as you cover over this underpainting, you will lose some of the definition. So sometimes you may have to re-underpaint and just kind of work with it a little bit back and forth to get the hair to start looking like you want it. Yes, and there's a video on that, isn't there? There's a YouTube video on that. I have a YouTube, and I have free videos on it for you guys. And patrons get to see the free videos first. I put up the lining one just the other day for my patrons, and that will go up on the 1st or around the 1st of the month. Might go up a little early, actually, since I'm going out of town. We shall see. Unless I can queue it up to publish while I'm gone. Which I think I can do. All right, so Jen just kind of like, she's got lots of little ringlet curls. Her hair is very, very lumpy, very bumpy. Tiny little ringlets. And when you've got that kind of hair where it's not just smooth, underpainting can be a good technique to use because you can bring out some of that texture a little bit easier. Now, I am underpainting the bottom part of the hair here, but I will probably let it go darker after I go over it because it is kind of on the underside of things and will be in shadow. Oh, well, a little bit too much in there, but that's all right. We can touch it up. Things like this are also great practice for brush control, and it doesn't matter if you fudge them a little bit like I did there. You can always just pick up a little bit of your dark brown and correct them by going over them again. So you can take another try. We do have to decide what her little, she's technically, I think it's pearls, but that would be really hard to convey. So I think I'm probably gonna make those little bits gold. Shiloh's had Malamute in them back behind when we started creating the breed. When Tina created the breed, she one of her outcrosses was a custom mix of Canadian White Shepherd and Malamute, giant Malamute. Now, of course, we're adding in these other breeds, although we are still looking at Malamute, but it's just very difficult because here in the States, you don't, breeders are very obsessed with purebred and they don't necessarily know or think about genetic health a lot. Because, I mean, if you're AKC, the AKC doesn't allow you to outcross. So it's hard to find a breeder that will work with us. Especially because we want somebody who has a lot of experience in the breed. Because they have to know what's behind their own lines and their breed. Yeah, I met a Shiba Inu yesterday. She was on her run. Her owner sadly got kind of tangled around a pole because she veered over to say hi to me, and he was on the other side of the pole. She was a cutie though. She was a red. I like Sesame and the tricolor in that breed. So again, white underpainting to bring out all the texture in this hair. And as you can see, there's a lot of it. Puppies in general are adorable. I'm pretty immune to them after... puppies are cute, but I actually enjoy adult dogs more, I think. Puppies are a lot of work. Okay, so we've gone all the way around. We've met the existing underpainting on the other side, so now we can put a glaze over everything. She's a heavy mini, and I keep dropping her because I keep forgetting how heavy she is. So, all right, go over it with this lighter brown now. And I'm pretty much going over everything with that brown. Even the dark brown I'm just brushing this over the top. The paint is a little bit translucent, and so you can still see the difference between the light and the dark. But yeah, I know how much work a puppy is. I know how much work those little cute balls. There's a reason they're cute. It's because you would strangle them otherwise. Because they're stinkers. In more ways than one. So, although I look forward to getting a puppy, I look forward more to having an adult dog again. All right, so now the top knot up here of her hair, and we will go around and add more highlights as well. But I want to get at least the base down, and then I want to sit and play with it a bit. I'm pretty happy for this color, but I think I need to bring it up a little more golden. So mostly here it's the hair all being pulled up in kind of a little bun on top of her head. I'm going to start out just doing the top of each of these strands, but then I may come back and add a lot more highlights and really solidify the highlights a bit, because just doing like the strands isn't going to look very natural. All right, so that's okay. We got a little bit. Yeah, it looks good. All right, the little strand, horizontal strand I'm seeing there is the hair bunchy and not the actual paint job on the top here. Although I think I am gonna make it a little heavier. This is, there'd be a fair amount of highlight up here on the top part. All right, get this side. Sometimes hair texture is sculpted very simply on 28mm models, especially if they're done in ZBrush. So sometimes you have to like kind of paint on a few extra strands here and there if you want it to look really convincingly hair-like, or it pays to do so anyway. So I'm putting a few strands in between there to get that more realistic feel. Yeah, since we have a few more people on now, as we're further into the stream, just letting you know I will not be streaming on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday this week, as we will be going to Adepticon in Chicago. David has 4 Golden Demon entries ready, because overachiever. Like I can talk. So yesterday was kind of funny because we had 2 people come over for paint club, and both of them were oil painters. Like, both of them work on miniatures with oils. So it's like the oil painters with their dry palette, and David with his wet palette, and me with my traditional acrylics. It was wonky. I still can't decide. Like I learn more about oils every time like I talk to somebody who uses them in miniatures. And I really wanted to find out if they heard anything about the flow colors from Scale. But AJ has a set on order, so he said he'd let me use his set to try them out. They are traditional oils though, so I'd have to use solvents. That always stops me. I'm interested, but am I that interested, I ask myself? But maybe I need to do comic book style first and then get into oil painting. I used to love oils in school, and that's what keeps me interested. But it was very interesting because all right, so this is coming out pretty well, guys. I'm just gonna thin down now my kind of my mid color that I mixed, the 50/50 Rusted Anchor and Griffin Golden Brown, the golden brown color we've got coming up here. Oh, nice. Yeah. Excellent, Kerniko. Yeah, don't feel guilty. I won't be here. I'll be in Chicago painting. Hanging out with painters and painting. Commiserating with people who are rushing to finish their models at the last minute, as I always used to at a con. I'll be working on mine, but I got all of his fur done yesterday for the most part, and the leather got done on stream on Saturday, so now it's just doing his necklace bits and just getting the shoulder pad even more complete. But I mean, we're going to be at the con. We're coming in on Wednesday, so we're going to have all day Thursday to work, like just for me to fine tune competition entries if I can squeeze a spot. There we go. So I'm liking this. I feel like I need to pick up these strands a little bit more over here. But overall, I'm pretty happy. Pretty happy with how it's looking there. Now, I didn't do anything to the underside here, so I do need to get these bits that go back behind her ears a little bit. I don't want them to be completely highlighted, but I do want a little bit of light coming through down there. So, yeah, I like her. I like that hair color. That's a good hair color. It's fun to paint a mini with a fancy hairdo and a fancy dress for once. We don't get to paint very many of those since they're mostly, it's like townsfolk, right? And we don't have too many of those models. And when we do, they often don't have super fancy dresses. So I'm going to do a little bit of underpainting here. I'm going to grab just a little bit of the undersides of the hair and get some of that color. Yes, because we tried just putting our highlight color over the dark color, but because it's hard to paint lighter, brighter colors over dark colors, Twisted Oma, you usually want to underpaint white. If I wanted to really get a vibrant, light brown hair on her, I wouldn't have started dark at all. This is what I was talking about too with, I think, Grey Wolf at the start of the stream, where if you want a really flaming red redhead, don't start with auburn. Because it will be super hard to get that hair color to come up to that really flaming red over that dark color. You want to start with your midtone and then shade in that case. Oh, I see a spot I missed. So because I was not getting many results by putting the midtone directly over the dark color because I started so dark brown, I went back and began underpainting with white and then putting the brown color over the top. And now not only did it work, but it also makes all of these little details come out really well on the hair, which otherwise would be difficult to do. I definitely get out of breath on climbs, but as long as you can stop to rest. So a little bit of highlight down under here, not a lot, but you want a little bit of the definition to come out down here. You can leave it darker because it's on the underside of the hair. But you do want a little bit. Hello, Cujo. How's it going? We're doing a hair today. I'm underpainting with white because my orangey highlight color did not go very well over the very dark color I started with. So putting down a little bit of white first and then painting that orangey color over it is working much, much better. So I missed a couple spots underneath, so I picked those out with white, and I'm gonna take my orangey color and go over it. And then we'll start highlighting it even more with more traditionally. All right, so I like that. I feel like I want a little bit more over here where her bangs are combed over. But yeah, and nobody should wonder, when you see me using white in a weird way on this stream, you should automatically think underpainting at this point, because that's what I do with it. So if I'm putting down white, it's because I want the color, I'm going to be painting something else over it, and I want that color to be bright or light, or, you know, more so than I could get by just painting it over the top of a dark color. So again, that white in there. We could add some of this and just leave it as kind of gray streaks if we wanted to. Although then I would not use pure white. I would use a gray first and probably highlight it. And I would be a little more assiduous at wiping out the brown between. There we go. That's a little bit lighter. Yeah, my internet coughed out. It actually coughed out and didn't come back, Agent Marvel. Like, we essentially, even after it did come back, we had to turn the router on and off to reset everything, because it was just like, our router was like, nope, nope. But it was out for a good couple hours. Ha! All right, now let's get something a little more golden in those highlights. So I'm going to use the color that I used a mix of before. And I'm going to add some white to it. When you've got a golden brown like this, and this is true of like colors like tanned leather, and polished leather and all that stuff. In fact, this is very close to polished leather, this color. It's got a little more brown in it. But when you've got a very yellowy brown like this, if you add white to it, it will go very golden. So that's the color right there. I'm just going to add a brush full of white. And I am going to add just a little bit of my previous highlight color. Just a little bit, to make sure I can make them work together. Always helps to have a little bit of your previous color in there. Then they feel more like a natural highlight and shadow. Alrighty. So now I'm going to try, just on top, going to try this color. I'm going to try it solid first, since I put white in it. It may be strong enough to not have to underpaint anymore. That's my goal. I just want to be able to throw on some real highlights, some natural highlights here. May not quite be light enough. I may need to go a little lighter. Yeah, maybe a little bit more white. Alrighty, Crowley, nice. Total hype. Everybody give Crowley a round of applause. Gave her job offer. Here's hoping it's a great offer. Super congrats are in order. Job hunting is painful. And when it is over, it is cause for a huge celebration. Oh, nice. Fully remote too. Super round of applause. That's just so nice. It's so interesting to me. Like, because like talking to, again, the painters who came over yesterday, and one of them, his wife, she just managed to get a job that's fully remote. Because it's all like coming out of the pandemic, right? But it's like, we're all going to be like working from home. Like, it's so interesting to me, the evolution of the workplace. It depends on the industry you're in, obviously. But it is kind of fascinating to me, this evolution. There we go. So a little bit higher highlights up here. Well, I've been working from home since I went freelance lady, and I do like it actually, but I'm such an introvert. Sometimes it lets me indulge my introvert side. And it will also, I mean, once we get the puppy, it's going to be really handy. Like when I was at Reaper, I could just bring my puppies to work for socialization and to, take them out throughout the day and stuff. So it was really nice to have a dog-friendly workplace. But, now if I get a job, who knows if it'd be dog-friendly. And so I kind of am very happy I'm working from home. And I do have my own office here, so that helps separate the work from the fun. There we go. So a little bit more light up top here on her hair. Yeah, probably it very much will depend on the company you work for there, huh? I think I'm gonna go even a little more golden on the top here. I think I'm gonna mix another highlight. So what we've got right now is we had our base that we did underpainting and glazed this reddish orangey color over the top of it. I ended up not using that for much at all, though I'm gonna keep it from totally drying out so it won't dry in the palette. Then I've got this color, which is our Griffin Golden Brown, but I added a fair bit of white to it and a little bit of our previous color. Now I think I need something actually a little bit more golden even. So I'm going to grab that and I'm going to add a little bit of a yellow to it, I think, to make her top highlight color for this hair. I am really liking the color on the hair so far. I really like it. So, oh, absolutely white. White, and use a darker yellow for a base coat than you think, Casman. Yellow if over black primer will turn green often because it doesn't cover very well. So you want to do a white undercoat anyway. But yeah, far easier. And then go with a orangey or a like ochre, kind of like palomino color. You may think this looks like mustard, but over white, it actually is quite bright. Let me show you real quick. So yellow ochre, oxide yellow, palomino gold, any of those colors that look kind of like a mustard yellow. Hold on, let me get it. It does not want to come out. It says, no, you have not used me for a while. I will resist you. Where is my pokey tool? Pokey tool. I just had it. Of course, I ate it. Grr. Well, when in doubt, grab the pin vise. I probably knocked it on the floor and didn't notice. But if you grab, there we go. So it looks like very mustardy, but when you grab a little bit of it and you brush it over white, It's very, like, it goes very yellow. This is actually more of a gray even. But what you can do then is start with this color. And the reason you start with a mustard yellow on a Pikachu is that it covers. You get better coverage. Then you essentially leave this as your shadow, but then you take your bright Pikachu yellow and you, like, you know, put that over the top of it. And it will let your Pikachu yellow, like, you'd have shadows and highlights. It'll just leave this in, like, the cracks. So if I grab one of my brighter yellows, let's see, how about Sun Yellow? So Sun Yellow is a pretty good Pikachu color. I love Pikachu, by the way. I had a Pikachu mouse pad for many years. So then when you put the yellow over the top of that, you get very bright. And you can leave that mustard yellow in the shadows and the cracks, like between his body and his legs and stuff. And you can do that way. And you can even kind of brush the ochre over the tubble, do kind of a blend, and then you get that. So then the ochre's in the shadow and the sun yellow is in the highlight, and that. So that's how you do a more frustration-free yellow, is you start with more of a mustard yellow, which covers a lot better because of the pigment. Yellow ochre is a pigment that covers a lot better, or yellow oxide, than a plain yellow. Yep, that's what I would do if I were lucky enough to be painting a Pikachu. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they were crazy. I hope they learned their lesson not to use a black base coat on a yellow army. I think that when you've got painters that are going for the very high drama style, also they may be using a high coverage paint line, or they may be mixing white in their colors. They may be doing a lot of sketch style or underpainting. That's a lot of, I prime black, but I spray white over the top. And then if there's anything on that model that I want to be a brighter color, I'm going to underpaint it in white. So I see, like, I do prime black, but then I modify, and it really just depends. Like, there are some colors, like I just primed this guy white. I used to prime everything white. But these days I like the Zenith because I'm working on my how to do lighting of, like, kind of thing. So I want the contrast primer. Alrighty, well, since I just was talking about how I wanted to yellow out my my highlight color here, and I just mixed up some yellow, I am going to just transfer some of this paint over that. That was very useful. Ta-da! There, that's a nice golden color. I like that. So you can see a difference between this one and that one. I'm going to grab a little bit more white. There we are. Good highlight. So really what it comes down to is I will prime black unless I am, but I will always spray white or light gray over the top depending on what I'm painting. I never, ever, ever go flat black primer, ever. And if I had to choose, like if for some reason the world said you can no longer Zenith and you need to just just do white or black, chances are I would do white. And if I had to do black, if all the white primer in the world ran out, I would underpaint everything with white. Do sketch style over the whole thing. Because it's just ridiculous to, one, I have a hard time seeing over black primer, like seeing details on black primer, have a huge hard time with that, I do. So that's just an innate dislike of black primer for me. But if you are painting an army where you want it to be a bright color, like a bright red, or you want it to be yellow or something like that, white primer is your friend. And if you must use black, get ready to paint a lot of white over the top of that black so that you can lay down your yellow or your red or your bright green without a ton of frustration. All right, so I want to highlight up at the top of her head for sure, right down the part of her hair. You can see there's still a part in her hair right there. But yeah, I know a lot of people who use black primer, but then they use sketch style underpainting or otherwise use tricks to apply their colors. Now, in the case of Sergio, he does use a black primer. Zenith is optional, but he builds up his colors from there, from darks all the way through middle to light. So he works dark to light on everything. If you work dark to light on everything, which can give you very, very dramatic results color-wise, yes, you can start with a black primer. Because essentially you're going to be doing a lot of layers to get up to your bright colors. Yeah, it depends on your painting style, like we just said. So when I took Sergio's class, it reminded me of the way I used to paint, because I used to paint everything dark to light. But then, for me, that doesn't save time. Like, for Sergio, for his style, it saves him time. But for me, it doesn't. So it really, I think the way, like the primer you gravitate toward and the you know, the way you build your color on the model is just like everything else in painting. It's a very much a individual thing, right? There's no right or wrong way to do it. There's only, you know, what works for you. And I went from white primer to black primer, back to white primer to zenithal. So at this point, and to gray primer in the middle too, because I actually really like gray primers. And at the end of it all, now I suit the primer job for the actual miniature. So what am I going to be trying to do on this model? Okay, what priming method makes sense for this model? Yeah, exactly. It's all like individual. Like I'm the opposite Big Apple. If I look at black primer, I just can't see the details. I have a hard time with it. But gray primer is perfect. Like I love gray primer. I feel like I can see the detail much better on gray than anything else. So we've got the highlight kind of up here on top of her head. That's lovely. I need some highlights up here. And also, I'm missing some highlights like right here because you can see how the hair kind of comes out to the side here, so it would catch the light. But yeah, some people, like, we all see color differently. We all see lights and darks differently. All of us, our eyes are just a little bit different from each other. So never let anybody else tell you you're doing it wrong. But also, don't represent your way ever as the only way. It can be very easy to speak from a place of confidence when you're talking about your own technique as you get better as a painter, as you start to teach other people, as you give advice to your friends. But remember, they might be very different than you. And just, you know, if you see them doing something that you think might be frustrating, do warn them, hey, there might be, you know, it might be hard to do that because. But if it works for them, it works for them. So that's all. Yeah, that's cool, Bevel. And you can do both. I mean, as you develop your abilities with the slower style and trying to do things more realistic, you will find that just because you're building brush control, you're going to get faster at the fast style. So like at gaming models, then you'll be able to do a very simple job on them if you want to, and you'll be able to do it very quickly. At this point, it probably will not take me very long should I, you know, take up an army again. Should I actually find gamer friends again. It won't take me very long to paint a small army at this point. I still would have to put the time in, but relatively, I think my per model speed has increased just because my brush control is so fast now and I understand the paint so well. All right, so that's nice. That's with the gold color kind of touching up. And you see that we still have brown hair, even though we're going up to like, you know, a whole different bunch of colors, like base coat, boom, boom, boom. We're doing a lot of different colors, but our hair is still a brunette, definitely a brunette. And if we decide that it goes too light at any point, we can put a glaze over it or even a wash over it if we want to bring the, you know, the color we more had in mind back. But I like this color a lot. Yeah, what works. With art, it's all just what works for you. That's why I try to couch my advice very much in a here are some of the pitfalls, right? Like I want you guys to know the pitfalls of making a given decision, like, or potential pitfalls, because sometimes they're not a pitfall for you, but that's just to hopefully save you some frustration, where if things start going south, you can be like, oh, Anne mentioned this. This is why this is happening, you know. So then you know why, and then you might be able to fix it just on your own if you decide you want to, you know, keep pursuing that. No, you do. Because these early days are exciting, Babel, because you see such great progress. And that is always exhilarating when you're just flying through it and you're like, you know, oh my gosh, I'm improving so much, and every model's exciting, right? Absolutely, you'll feel nostalgic for earlier days. It's why when you're, and I was talking with the guys yesterday about this, but when you get to a very high level, the most exciting thing you can do is pick up something brand new. Like for me, go to oil painting or try to do comic book style, things that are very alien to my current style, because that resets me and once again allows me to experience that trial and error stage where everything is new and you see you can see the improvement. So great painters will always iterate. Great craftspeople or business people will always iterate. You're never done learning. There's always something cool and exciting you could try. Yeah, and don't worry, because you will get that efficiency. It just takes time. Time and just conscious learning. It doesn't take as much time if you consciously apply yourself. But in mini painting in general, you will go through many little steps like that, where you will be like, oh, this is hard. And then suddenly it'll be like, oh, this is much easier now. And then you'll try a new technique and you'll be like, oh, this is hard. So as you get better at painting and as you try more techniques and as you get better at X, but then you try Y, you're going to speed up and then slow down and then speed up and then slow down and then speed up and then slow down. It's just the way the learning process works. So eventually you get to the point where you're quite efficient at quite a lot of things. Just kind of taking some of my darker color here to make sure that I still have lines so the texture of her hair is coming out. Let's see here. I want to bring in a little bit of highlight here on the back of her bun because the bottom part would probably have some things in it. I also feel like jury's still out on this little string of beads in her hair. I think I'm going to keep that white for now. Gold is my gut color on it, but the pearls are so small that's going to be really hard. And I may make them cream if I need them to really stand out, or I may go red if I feel like I need that accent. I haven't decided. And when that happens, I'm pretty fearless about just leaving it white until I come to a place where I'm like, okay, this is now the logical color to make this. But yeah, like when I first started doing textures, it took me a long time. Like, it was about two years ago when I started seriously working on getting better at textures. And now I feel like it's very fast for me to execute. And I haven't tried, it hasn't been intentional practice. It's just been, kind of methodical. Because, I paint a lot of stuff on this stream, but I don't do a lot of textures. So mostly it's been on my personal projects that I've had time to practice textures. Just Just want to bring in a little bit more shadow in here. There. That's a bit better. There we are. But yeah, you will go back and forth throughout your painting life. Now I do want a little bit of light here at the back of her head. So I'm going to bring in a level of highlight back here. And here I'm going to try to hit the curls wherever they're kind of poofing out. And use a squiggly, use a highlight to accent the squiggliness of her hair so that the little textures come out there. And this is just how you paint curly hair. Like, try to kind of accent the little squiggles so that the shape of the hair is evident. Remember, Reaper's new Kickstarter is launching soon, everybody. Bones 6 hits the airwaves on Kickstarter on the 31st. I will be en route to Canada. But I'll have to tune in just for the excitement. Because the first day is always exciting. So bringing out the texture of the hair there with just little touches of kind of the beige color. Yes, and Quindy just linked. You can sign up to be notified when it goes live so you too can jump on the excitement wagon, since the first day is always a super, super fun roller coaster ride. And of course, if you jump on it earlier, you do get shipped before everybody else, as we do it in waves, but you don't worry too much because we usually bust through the waves pretty fast. So if you don't get on it super fast, don't worry about it. Yeah, pretty much, Kroniko. I'm gonna be in Canada at the start of the month, so I'm not gonna be on here until I get back. I think that's the 4th. Don't quote me on that. Monday, I think it's Monday. Unless I get like held up in Canada or crossing the border or something like that, in which case, And for those who missed my puppy pictures earlier, here is a puppy cute for you. So cute. Oh, no waves this time? They're just doing it? All right. Well then, see, so it shows you that I'm not involved in Reaper meetings now. All right, what was I looking at? I was trying to look at, when I was coming back. 1 second. Let me double check. Yeah, I should be back Monday the 4th. I should be. Although I may have actually, when I first gave you dates, Quindy, I think I said Monday was a no, just because I'm not sure on the international travel, and I wanted to give myself a kind of a wiggle room. Sons of Brother Who, thank you for the tiny raid. How can you have? People can be their own wave. Oh dear. Yes, indeedy. All right, so we've got some highlights here on the hair. We've got highlights there. I feel like I could highlight up on here a little bit more on the little scrunchie on the crown of her head. But otherwise, the face and the hair is coming along very nicely now. I'm happy with the skin, the face, and the hair. Let's see, we're getting to the end of the stream. I don't think I'm going to have time for ostrich feathers. This could be bad. We can at least look up some photo references and finish highlighting the hair here. So with my really pale golden color, I'll come in and just kind of hit a little bit here and there. There. And now with curly hair, you may not get a really bright off-white highlight. This is the one exception to the general rule, although you see I am bringing up a lighter highlight where the hair is kind of like just her bangs. With other hair, you absolutely go up to a white highlight because hair is shiny. But hair tends to show its shininess, like my hair up here, tends to show its shininess when it's really smooth. And so when you've got hair that's really crinkly, it doesn't highlight up as extremely. So remember that if you're painting somebody with really frizzy hair or hair that's got a lot of texture, is it tends to be more dull. Like when you're doing somebody with dreadlocks, like Wolfie here, or sorry, Wolfie, Hyena, Noel, then like with the dreads on top of her head, I'm putting texture in, but I'm not going to be highlighting these like up to white because it doesn't make sense to do so. Now braids, because they're pulling smooth hair together, braids can be an exception and you can highlight up braids fairly high. But with dreadlocks for sure, you don't get a really shiny highlight. So I'm going to grab a little bit more of my gold and hit the hair up on the crown here, and then we'll be pretty good. But yes, so do join us for the Bone 6 Kickstarter launch on the 31st, and you can sign up on the website to get notified. So you can pop in a pledge and then like participate in all the comments and have fun answering questions for people. That's doing pretty good. Yeah. I like her hair, actually. I like that color. It worked out pretty well. She has so much texture. So a little bit more muted on the back. Sign up and there will be stream activity, but no further details on what the stream activity will be. Got it. All right, so we've got like 7 minutes, but I'm pretty done with hair and I want to look at ostrich plumes. So let's see here. Let's type in, let's be very specific and type in ostrich plume fan. Can I find a picture? Ooh, they could be white. There's like, yeah, that was what I was thinking of. The kind of the black and stuff. Let's see, images. So it looks like a lot of times they're using the white feathers, but I don't want white feathers. I want like the black. That's more like it, except I want them with like white edges. But it's definitely that type of feather, like Victorian and Edwardian, like that, right? That's pretty much what she's holding. So I think I can do that black, gray, and then go to white at the ends, like that first picture I saw. I'm just trying to find one that has kind of what there's an actual ostrich feather, historical ostrich feather fan. That's more like what I'm looking at. Interesting. Okay. So it looks like lighter color, which does make sense. Lighter color toward the roots, and that's from the British Museum. And then darker toward the tips. So that's a possibility then. And that actually would work here because we do have the fan tips coming up against the light color here on the beige, right? So if we make the tips darker and the root of it a lighter color near her hand, that works great because we've got this dark red behind there, right? So that for our color composition, that actually works fantastic. So I think I'm going to just screenshot this particular fan. There we go. And that way I can just keep it in my photos. When I find the perfect photo reference, I just do it. Just go for it. There we are. And done. So now we'll have that. And we'll be able to like zoom in on it and, try to kind of see how we want to do it. It looks like kind of a smoky gray down to a really dark, like blackish color. So yeah, I think that's going to work. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Anything feathers, your cats are like, oh, no, pray. Just going to see if there's another picture. Oh, there's another picture of it, actually, of the British Museum fan. There's another picture. And that one's even higher res, actually. I love that. That is a lovely fan. And I love all the different, like, I wish this fan was more haphazard, right? With all these feathers kind of going in different directions. It's actually quite beautiful. But yeah, that's definitely the fan I wanted. That was the fan I was looking for. That was the one I had in mind when I thought ostrich plume. There, we'll save this one too. Perfect. Haha! I feel great. I found exactly what I wanted to. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, what we did today, we did brown hair. We did some interesting colors on it. This is not a brown hair color progression I've ever used before. We did use black and brown, which I have done before, but then we brought it up with a mixture of rusted anchor and griffin golden brown, and then we added a little bit of palomino gold to our griffin with white to get a final highlight. And we talked about how, to do very textured hair like this, and we did a lot of it with underpainting in order to bring out the design. I'm very happy with how she's coming along. And then tomorrow, to finish up my week, because again, I will not be here Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, thanks to Adepticon. Tomorrow we are back to Ye Old Pirate Lady, and I've got to figure out what we're doing. Like, this is like the point where I have to actually commit to doing something else. So maybe we'll work on the blue, or maybe we'll block in the beige. I'm not sure. I'm thinking maybe it's blue time, and doing some wool texture. I'm thinking we might do that. So yes. And Rhonda is on for 2 p.m. Central. So do please come back to watch Bird with a Brush and Beyond the Kit. And I hope y'all have a fantastic day. I did mention my Patreon, but I'll mention it again. I have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/paintingbig. If you are going to be at Adepticon and are a patron, I will have stickers. So yes, thank you everybody for coming out, and I will talk to you again tomorrow. Thanks everybody. Have a fantastic day.